Oh, right then. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Simon Timpley from the International Food Safety and Quality Network. Welcome to edition 101 of the Food Safety Fridays webinar program. It's been a while. I think I was looking back, it was sort of early July, the last one. So it's been a good 5 or 6 weeks, but it's good to be back. And what better way to come back than with our great friend Vladimir Suchinsky. And we're going to be talking today about FSSC 22000 version 4 and the new expanded requirement for management of service suppliers. Before we get online with Vladimir, just like to thank the sponsors who support this program: DMV, GL Business Assurance, AIB International, Trace Analytics, Metal of Toledo, and Safe Food 360, who help to bring these short educational webinars to you and support us with that and get you a certificate of attendance, etc. So it's fantastic to be back. Are you there, Vladimir? Can you fill this void on the screen? Hi.
Yes. Hello. I'm here.
Good. It was a bit disconcerting to have that blank space next to me. So how are you doing?
Very well. We're prepared for this webinar to present a lot of nice and new things.
Good. Okay then, Vladimir, if you want to get your presentation up, I'll tell the audience about the next webinar.
Yeah, perfect.
If you see in the sidebar, ladies and gents, that's David Braxton, technical manager from BRC, and that's on the 14th of September. And David's with us that day to discuss BRC issue 8, the root and branch review, looking at the changes to the requirements and going through that in detail. So hopefully, if you're interested in BRC, you can join us for that. Okay, but for now, there's lots of polls and all sorts of magical things in this presentation that Vladimir is bringing to us, so I'm sure you'll appreciate it. I'll be back to join in a little bit with that, and I'll see you later.
Okay, so hello to all food safety friends again, and thank you for logging into this presentation, and thank you IFSQM for this great opportunity, giving all of us place to share and to learn. And also special thank to you, Simon, for being our host for these great webinars. So today we are going to talk about new version of FSSC 22000. This is why I, for the first slide, put this sentence saying, many are stubborn in pursuit of the path they have chosen, few in pursuit of the goal. So today we are going to pursue our goal and practically to learn how to implement something new, something that is revised, and to give some practical advices and some practical tools how you can do it in your company. So today we are going to focus on new version of FSSC 22000. It is the version 4. I didn't want to mention this 4.1 because there is no such big changes from 4 to 4.1, and additional demand for managing the services or purchase of services. I know that this has been a problem in previous period to implement sometimes because demands are not clear in a scheme or standards, and sometimes that there is a lack of knowledge, and sometimes even your auditor expects from you more than you can handle at that point. Mainly you struggle with clear demands and concrete solutions. So today you are going to get the concrete solutions. You are going to get that document, that forms and template. You will have opportunity to ask questions and to get more detailed info. And on top of that, I have added links to more downloads of free documents, free webinars and forums. This whole and complete knowledge and understanding I will complete with free link to one of the best-selling webinars, but let's stick till the end and you will find out more. So practically you all know me from previous webinars since I started presenting for IFSQN from 2015. Till now we have talked about the topics of emergency preparedness, traceability of food in restaurants and fast food, also interesting topics like safe food with healthy food. And in previous period, one of the most tracked topics was defining of SMART goals in food safety. I'm a certified food safety expert with more than 10 years in food safety topics and more than 8 years in implementation, training, and auditing business. Food safety standards are my focus, but still, I'm strongly included in standards for quality, environmental protection, health and safety, business continuity, and risk management. Currently, I'm in a position of project manager for certification body of Quality Austria, where I'm also accredited auditor and trainer with more than 500 audits performed in different industries and more than 1,000 persons trained. I have a vision of finding a new ways to analyze risk in food safety and defining of methods that will be used in industries across the world. My strategy is just to develop and research new topics in food safety, presenting them through the webinars, through the trainings, forums, blogging, and through the publications. Okay, so we will start. As you probably know, new version of FSSC is issued on December 2016, and main reason for this is compliance with the new version of GFSI manual and approved scheme. Probably the biggest changes exist in certification process with added unannounced audits, certification scopes are added, and auditor rotation. First, unannounced audits are to get in level with the IFS and BRC where this is common. What is different is that client now has no options to choose to have or not to have this unannounced audit. It is the decision of certification body. Certification scope is widened to cover catering, retail, and provision of transport and storage for different kinds of food and feed. Additionally, rotations of auditors are added on 6 years total, after which another auditor has to come to the location. Big change are also levels on nonconformities, and here removed recommendations. It is not allowed for auditors to give more recommendations in report, only nonconformities. New level is critical nonconformity, and major and minor remained. Focus of new version is according to GFSI, also in prevention of intentional contamination, and this improved the food defense, also added food fraud, and made stricter management of services and supplied materials. Main components of the scheme remain the same, and we will explain that on the coming slides. But what is interesting is that FSSC now clearly define use of logo for where and how, what colors you should use, etc. So, FSSC scheme did not change the aim or objective. FSSC scheme is a certification scheme for food and feed safety quality management system. In compliance with ISO 22000, 9000 requirements, sector-specific prerequisite programs requirements, and additional scheme requirements. Aim of the scheme is the certification scheme to ensure that the scheme continuously meets international requirements resulting in certification, that assures the provision of safe products to consumers worldwide. Objective of the scheme is to establish and maintain an accurate and reliable register of certified organizations that have demonstrated to comply with the scheme requirements. We need also to mention definitions that are new or improved. Like, for example, ingredient. Here it is defined that ingredient is a processed or unprocessed component of food, feed, or packaging. Another is a food defense, and it is a bit clearly for the FSSC new version described, and it is said, the process to prevent food and feed supply chains from all forms of ideologically or behaviorally motivated intentional adulteration that might impact consumer health. Also, what is new definition is food fraud prevention. It was very hard to define it, but it is added now in FSSC. It is the process to prevent food and feed supply chains from all forms of economically motivated intentional adulteration that might impact consumer health. So if you compare these two, like food defense and food fraud prevention, you can see that in food defense, it is mainly motivation that is ideologically motivated, and it is intentional adulteration, and it might have impact on consumer health. When you look at the food fraud, it is always economically motivated intentional adulteration that also might have consumer impact on consumer health. When we look at the food or feed safety, here it is also definition that says the policies, process and procedures, materials, facilities and monitoring system apply to food or feed products to ensure that they will not cause harm to humans or animals or adversely affect their health when utilized according to their intended purpose. Okay, So definitions of new level of non-conformities is something that would be interesting for you, and we will start from critical one. Here it is said that the critical non-conformity is a non-conformity whereby food safety is directly impacted during the audit or when legality and or certification integrity are at stake. Major nonconformity is a nonconformity that affects the capability of the management system to achieve the intended results, and the minor nonconformity is a nonconformity that does not affect the capability of the management system to achieve the intended results. But let's see it like this. When you are an audited, or you are an auditor, or you are a consultant, you for sure have to know these definitions. So previously we only had major nonconformities, we had minor nonconformities, and we have recommendations. A majority of auditors just put the recommendations, to be in a good relationship with the clients, etc. Maybe some minor nonconformities, but not so often the major nonconformities. Now there are no recommendations, and practically minor nonconformities is something that you can expect on your audit to have more and more. Major nonconformity is something that you would not like, because you will have like 14 days to deal with them. And critical nonconformity means that you immediately practically are in a problem, because if critical nonconformity is noted, this means that your food safety is at stake. You have a big problem. And what this would mean, if you look at the FSSC site, there is explanation of critical, major, minor nonconformity. You will later have some link to see it more directly. For example, you are in the production and you see that there is some physical hazard that is coming into the product, and practically it could affect the safety of the product. So if employees notice this and say, okay, this is the problem, we need to stop the product, we need to examine, we need to neutralize the physical hazards, etc., you can say that this is major nonconformity, because there is awareness. But in cases when you have physical hazard that is going into the product, and there is no people that going to have reactions, they see it but they don't have any reaction, there is a big issue with the safety of the product. You cannot say that maybe there were already some products sent to the market that are with physical hazards or some chemical hazards, and you can say that in that point this is a critical nonconformity. You noted this critical nonconformity, and in these cases you as an auditor or auditee can for sure be in a position that audit will stop. You will get a critical nonconformity, and after this you will have the suspension of your certificate. This means that your name or your company name will show up on a website of the FSSC, and for sure you will have the notification there. But this is not the end, because if this happens, you will have to inform your all of your clients, and this is not so pleasant, because you will have to inform them why you had critical nonconformity, for how long you will not have your certificate, and how you will get back your system to the proper state. So this is practically critical, major, or minor nonconformity. Minor nonconformities are something that you get used to. There is no checklist that is filled in properly, let's say something for control of operation prerequisite programs, etc. Also, if a checklist for critical control points is not filled regularly, it could be major nonconformity. But critical nonconformity is always issued if you notice that there is the likely impact of the certification integrity or the food safety during an audit. So this is practically small explanations, but if you go to the FSSC website, you will see their full document that you can download and really read about what is critical, what is major, and what is minor. Okay. So we are continuing. As mentioned earlier, main components of the scheme are not changed, and they are ISO 22000, this is food safety management system requirements. That includes also ISO 9001 quality management system requirements. We have the scheme requirements consist of separate components, and these components are all audited during the audit. And here we have prerequisite programs, and this is sector-specific prerequisite programs requirements. And what is specific for FSSC are these additional requirements. And this is to meet the needs of the key stakeholders and to ensure an adequate control of food safety. Specific additional FSSC requirements for the food safety management system are included in the scheme. What is interesting here is that we now have the version FSSC 22000 version 4 with change or improved additional requirements that are complied with GFSI manual version 7. And meanwhile, we had ISO 22000 changes and a new version from ISO 22000 2018. So practically, you will have time, let's say next 2 years, to implement additional requirements of ISO 22000 that is fully complied with ISO 9001. So practically your whole food safety system that exists and that is certified according to FSSC 22000 will have major changes, you know. So please go to the trainings, look at the ISO 22000 trainings, please learn as fast as possible these new changes, these new requirements that are complied with ISO 9001 also, since this will be asked from you in future or coming years by your auditors or by your customers. Okay, today we are focusing on additional requirements, and the one that is upgraded, this is management of purchase services. So this is all additional requirements. We have management of services, we have supervision of personnel, we have management of supplied materials, we have management of natural resources, we have food defense, food fraud prevention, we have formulation of products. This is more focused on pet food, dogs and cats. We have management of allergens, we have product labeling, we have environmental monitoring and logo use that is detailedly defined now. Management of services is something that is added and it is totally new. You have to focus on purchase services in the future. Supervision of personnel. For example, in previous years, you would focus on how the operatives are performing the activities. Are they fulfilling the hygiene standards? Are they fulfilling the behavioral standards, etc.? But meanwhile, we forget about focus on the supervisor of these employees. You know, and you would focus on your operator, but the supervisor is someone who should tell the operator about these rules, who should check the hygiene rules, etc. Management of supplied materials, this is something that remained the same, but it is a little bit improved because now you need to have really clear specifications. You will have to have laboratory tests for every supplied materials, and you will have to have that these tests are done according to some accredited methods. You know, you cannot just use the internal laboratory. Management of natural resources is something new, and it is focused on the production of feed for animals and also pet food, dogs and cats. And this is the management of the resources that is used as a food for animals. Food defense is improved because earlier FSSC on focused that you have good surroundings, that you have like I don't know, maybe security, that you lock down, etc. But now food defense wants from you that you fully implement really food defense plan with the analysis of threats and the critical situations, to implement some control measures and preventive measures, and to revise your food defense plan each year minimally. Food fraud prevention is totally new. Earlier, it did not existed in the FSSC 22000, and practically it explains totally new part, and it is now compliant with the BRC or IFS. Formulation of products is something that is focusing more on labeling of the products for pet food, dogs and cats. Management of allergens. Earlier, it was just mentioned that you need to check your labeling, that you need to check your declaration, specification, etc. But now you really need to do the hazard assessment of the possible allergens. You need to perform the production lines in such a way that there is no cross contamination, and you need to prove your system minimally once per year. Product labeling is now more focused on products that you export and how you comply with the regulations of the country where you export. So you need to really show the informations, how did you assess your declarations or labeling before exporting your product. Also, environmental monitoring is now more focused on the environment, and logo use, where it is defined how this logo should look like, which colors you should use, where you can use logo, etc. So first link that is here is linked to download section of FSSC, where you can find the explanation for each of these additional requirements, and you can free download and implement it in your organization. So we set up the first pool for you, and we kindly ask you to respond to the same, and we can continue according to these results. And please, Simon, set up the pool. The pool is, does your company team performs evaluation of suppliers of services minimally once per year?
Yep, I've loaded the poll in the sidebar. Does your team perform evaluation of service suppliers at least once a year? Yes or no? And we'll just let it settle down. Yeah, it's about 80% do evaluate annually, at least annually, their service suppliers, and around 20% do not. So that's good.
Okay, that's good. That's even perfect, you know, because this evaluation of suppliers, I know that it is performed, because on the other hand, you will need to define some prices for next year. You will have to show maybe already auditors ask from you to perform this evaluation of suppliers, etc. So I think today it will be really interesting for you to see how this is defined in FSSC, and we will continue from here. Okay, so let us continue with our webinar focus, and this is management of services, where demand is defined, and it is said that organization in the food chain shall ensure that all services that are provided and may have impact on food safety, please remember this, the services that are provided and may have an impact on food safety. The services referred shall include at least utilities, transport, maintenance, and outsource activities. All services need to have specified requirements that are described in documents to the extent needed to conduct the hazard analysis, that are managed in conformance with the requirements of technical specification for sector PRPs, and that are monitored. So I bolded some of the words that we are going to focus on our next slides, and you will have additional information on and downloads on FSSC website, but also you can look at some more valuable webinars that exist on IFSQN, and with these webinars you can also listen about management of services and maybe some more detailed informations. As you could saw, it is said that all services that are provided and may have an impact on food safety should be included, at least utilities, transport, maintenance, and outsource activities. But let's write down some exactly what suppliers we are going to include. This is pest control organization from obvious reasons, laboratories also from obvious reasons, transport, as mentioned, hygiene maintenance organization. So if you include them for some of the cleaning processes in or around production area, some external maintenance organization, for example, software maintenance, especially for software or programs used to track your production process or traceability. Also, external inspections for reception control. So, for example, reception of bulk goods like grains for mills. This is something where you can also engage, and you should consider these suppliers. When we talk about outsourced process like production of part of products, where maybe we produce, but for us other organizations doing the packaging. So this is also something that you will include as your supplier. Also, second party auditors, if they are performing supplier audits for you, this is something that you can also include. Consultants, of course, they are in connection for obvious reasons with connection of the food safety, and also certification bodies. Don't forget them. Yeah. Okay. What is also said? All services need to have specified requirements described in documents. Let us think about our suppliers there for a minute. Where requirements are specified for these suppliers? Yeah? They're specified mainly in the contracts. So please dig in that contracts and look for the requirements. They are too general and more focused on financial aspects. This is why your purchasing department or you are doing the evaluation of your suppliers each year, because there are some financial aspects more focused in your contracts where there are also requirements, and this is too general. Here you need to really specify the requirements that are in connection with your food safety system. You know, best thing would be to develop specification for services, and with them to cover all demands that are general and all specific demands that are your real needs or the real needs of the company. Okay, so what is the real situation behind contract defined specification or requirements? If you have requirements only defining contracts, I would like you to think about these next questions. What if you change the responsible person for purchasing? How you will explain these additional requirements in connection to food defense? What in cases that supplier is changed or existing stop operating? Will you use the same requirements? Think about that. New demands of implemented standards. You have a new demand of FSSC that you clearly define specific requirements. So, is it existing in the contract? And also specific demands of your new customers. What if you have new customers that demand some specific things? For example, you have a big retailer that you're producing private brand products, and this big retailer has a goal or a strategy to become more sustainable in next 5 years. And he puts the requirement of the sustainable production to you as the producer of a private brand product. So you will need to put this specific requirement for your suppliers. And this is the requirement that should be put maybe in specific demands. Of course, all of this you can change it through the contracts, but what if you have a lots and lots of suppliers? What if you have suppliers that are not so good with the knowledge, for example? But if this is primary producers, you know? So practically, if you look at this, there is a lot of questions for the existing system, for the system that only focus on the contracts, and the contracts are in many cases too general. Okay, so first step is to list all your suppliers, and you can do this now with the document available in the download section that Simon already set up. So this is specifically developed list with few examples for you as a kickstart. You can adjust this list according to your needs. So first step is to list all your suppliers of services, all your possible suppliers or services, or the ones that you already stopped operating also. Why? You need to have them on your list. What if happens something? And from here, we will continue to steps of evaluation, defining the status, etc. And for this, you will need next document. So this is the next document. Is the supplier service specification, also developed first time for you here on FSSC. Template is now available in download section with examples that we found useful for you to start. Now, actually, this specification works like the specification, but also self-assessment of the existing or a new supplier. And this information is set on a first page. You can change it according to your needs. Here are some general data for suppliers to fill in, and next side is demands, some general and some specific depending from the service provided to you. For example, you as a company can have some general demands mentioned. So if you look at the first page in the download section, when you download the supplier service specification, on the first page you will have the information to the supplier. This information you can of course change and made it more specifically to your needs, and you will have some general information. This document should be sent to a new supplier or existing supplier, and they fill in by themselves this document. Or even you can go to the supplier site and check all of these questions on the supplier site. Okay, so if you look at some general information, you can have their company name, address, telephone, or some contact informations. Also, this will need for your list of the suppliers. On the first page, you will have some general demands of your company, and these general demands, for example, I put it that they are focused on quality, food safety assurance of the supplier. And here supplier needs to fill in yes, no, underway, or not applicable section. And if you mention also, they need to deliver some documents as evidence to you. So if you look here at the general quality or food safety assurance information, I put some general information. For example, the quality safety assurance organization authorities and responsibilities are clearly defined in writing. So here, practically the company or your supplier could send you some quality or food safety manual, for example, to prove that they have this assurance. Also, the company prepares and issues periodic reports and maintains records relative to delivered services. Maybe this could be also the part. Also, the quality safety assurance organization has a system for quality safety evaluations of the potential suppliers. Maybe you would like from the company to have also some general requirements to evaluate their own suppliers. Also, maybe some general requirement could be that your supplier is organization that is certified according to recognized standards and has valid certificate. So they should send you the certificate as a confirmation. So practically, if they do the self-assessment, they can put the yes, no, or underway, or maybe you can do the assessment with them, and you will have the concrete data that they send to you as the information. So this is some general requirements for a supplier, and this is the self-assessment, but also this is the specification of the specific service for you. What is next? The next I put and I want to present you, for example, look at the specific requirements of pest control. These are just example, and you can adjust it to your needs. So this is, we have some general for the pest control company, but also some specific, for example, that organization is certified according to ISO 9001, ISO 45001, or some CEPA standards. Also, that organization has enough and trained licensed workforce to fulfill demands of work, and question that license certificates are delivered. Also, organization uses only approved pest control agents, and safety sheets and specification of chemicals delivered, etc. All of these examples and this document is shared with you in the download section. So you can download it and adjust it to your needs. Also, what is here as service specifics, I put it a lot of interesting things. As said, you have it in download section, and you can use it immediately. Let's say starting from the Monday, you can start and have a list of your suppliers of services, and you can you can just input what is needed for you as a general, what is needed as a specific thing, and you can send this to your suppliers to fill it in and to return you with some evidences. And for every new supplier, before starting the work, you will send to them this. Additional documents regarding the list of suppliers, regarding this document, they are developed with using of Oxbridge totally free ISO 9001 template kit. So there is a link for you, and you can download a lot of new and interesting documents that you can adjust to you. And they are free, of course. Okay, so let us now see some other pool. Does your company team perform supplier audit as a part of minimally yearly evaluations of supplier? Or practically, does your company perform supplier audits?
Yes, I've loaded the poll. As you can see, does your team perform supplier audits as part of minimal yearly evaluations of suppliers? Yes or no? And we can see, again, it's similar picture around, well, 70-30 actually. Let's say 75% do and 25% do not.
Yeah, but I think maybe that if we said in this poll that this is supplier of services, I think that maybe we would have some a different result, because we, of course, we perform some audit of suppliers of materials that we are going to input, or ingredients that we are going to input in our final product. So we will really like to see the food safety of these products on the production side. But what about the suppliers? Will you go to the supplier audit of the, for example, supplier of laboratory services? What will you audit in the laboratory maybe? Or will you perform the audit of the pest control? That is the question real here. Okay, so but we will continue and you will get the information that is needed for you more. Okay, so as mentioned, all services need to have specified requirements that we already show you, but these requirements need to be monitored. So first step is that you have approved supplier of services list that can really show how you monitor them, but this monitoring can be performed on several ways: through the yearly evaluation, supplier self-assessment, everyday controls of delivered services, supplier audits, and for this purpose, I will focus on model of supplier yearly evaluation according to predefined criteria. So, through the evaluation of criteria, you can add status of your suppliers. As you can see, the status of suppliers is approved, restricted, under evaluation, and I put some of the different examples for you to download it and to look it. But of course, this approved supplier list, you're going to use it for your own purposes. What is next is practically to define the criteria for the evaluation of suppliers. Mainly we do criteria like price, like quality of delivered materials. We do the delivery speed or delivery on time, etc. And we have some criteria. To be more exact, here table provides the current as well as the previous rankings of the different supplier selection criteria. As you can see, here there is more than 30 supplier criteria. Some of them are new in use, but some of them are old and always used. Like if you see the current rank, you on the first place you have quality, you have delivery, you have price, you have repair services, technical capability, etc. In previous time, it was more about the price and the delivery, and on the third place it was quality. But now with more demands, with more demands and everything, practically the quality came to the first place, and also the speed of delivery and delivery on time and quality of this delivery. And on the third place we have the price. Okay, so this is the criteria for you that you can use, some other criteria, not always the quality, delivery, and price, just to have it in your knowledge. What can you use? For supplier evaluation, there are two general or main criteria that you can use to evaluate your suppliers of services. So first is a process-based evaluation and performance-based evaluations. So we will speak about both. First on the ones that we are familiar with, and they are performance-based evaluations, the ones based on objective measures of performances, and later on some process-based through the practically some of the audit. Okay, so let us start with the three common supplier performance-based evaluation systems. This is the three general types of supplier evaluation system in use today, and this is categorical method, the cost ratio method, and the linear averaging method. In general, the guiding factors in determining which system is best are ease of implementation and overall reliability of the system. So it must be pointed out the interpretation of the result from any of these three systems is a matter of the buyer's judgment. Okay, the linear averaging method is probably the most commonly used evaluation method. Specific quantitative performance factors are used to evaluate supplier performance, and the most commonly used factors in goods purchase are quality, service delivery, and price, although any one of these factors may be given more weight than the others. And this is also the factors that you can use to evaluate the service. The first step is to assign appropriate weights to each performance factor, such that the total weights of each factor add up to 100. For example, quality might be assigned a weight of 50, service a weight of 35, and price a weight of 15. The assignment of these weights is a matter of judgment and top management performances. The weights are subsequently used as multipliers for individual ratings on each of the three performance factors. Okay, if you look to example for these two suppliers, you can see that three criteria are marked. For example, I use the suppliers of some raw materials, but practically if we have if we have some service, we can also say that for service we have some acceptable activities that are performed and on-time delivery of these activities. So we will have supplier 1 and supplier 2. And we will evaluate the quality, the service, and the price that they performed. So if we look at the quality of delivered service, we will have acceptable activities that are performed for us. It's, let's say, 50. If we look at the pest controller, let's say that they came to our company totally 58 times, for example, and from 58 times, 50 times the quality of their activities was very perfect. When we look at the service, it is delivered 58 times and it is delivered 52 times on time. And if we look at the price, for example, they put the price of, let's say, $75, and it is the price that they always charge us. So no changes practically. And if you evaluate this, you will get the total performance rating for this supplier 1. This is 89.8%. And for the supplier 2, you will get 90.7. How this should look is like this. In short version is shown how final results is defined. And according to these results, we can perform further categorization of our supplier. And we can say for our suppliers, in a list of suppliers, that they are approved, that they are not approved, or listed or not listed, and etc. Okay. I added one more, and this is the weighted point method. This is similar to linear averaging method, but I must say maybe simpler. Here we have some example for A, B, C, D suppliers and criteria like, again, quality, delivery, price. This is most common that is used. Again, I'm noticing to you that you can use any criteria that is more valuable for your organization. For each criteria, highest percentage performance is defined. So in total, it is 100%. Through the evaluation percentage of performances, it is defined and multiplied by total percentage for category. At the end, we get exact number that goes in total score. So if you look at the examples, for example, for the supplier C, we have performance quality 70, and the rating for quality should be 40%, and this is just let's say 28. For performance of delivery, it is 80 times, and it is 40% total amount. And practically, when you evaluate it according to the scheme down, you can get the total score. And with this total score, practically, you can put your suppliers to different categories. For example, if they are performed with a total score more than 70, we can say that this supplier is approved. If they are under 50, we can say that this supplier is not approved. Maybe we can use it, maybe we can evaluate it again, and etc. Okay, so this is the methods that you can use in your evaluation, and I show you more than 30 criteria that you can use in your evaluation of the suppliers of services. For both methods, we can see that there are some advantages and challenges. For example, if we look at the weight point method is similar to linear averaging method, but advantages is that system is very flexible. You can use any criteria, you can put any percentage for this criteria. It allows supplier ranking, it moderates implementation costs, and combines qualitative and quantitative factors into a single system. And challenges is that it tends to focus on unit price, it requires some computer skills, and performances can be evaluated to general, and this can lead to some relevance of results. Of course, on some other presentations and on the forum, you can get lots of new and different methods for evaluations that are maybe more focused on your needs. Okay, we mentioned that monitoring can be performed in several ways and through several models. And here I can say that you can have the supplier self-assessment. This is something that you can download it from download section and send your specification to them. You can have everyday controls of delivered products or services, and you can it can be performed in predefined time intervals. For example, you can perform the evaluations monthly, quarterly, yearly, or however you decide, and it can be performed by different departments, for example, purchasing or quality department or sales. So, for example, if you have a purchasing department, they can evaluate the, for example, price, and the communication with the supplier of service. But you as a, for example, quality department, you can evaluate the quality of delivered service and speed and let's say delivery on time, for example, for laboratory or pest control, etc. Also, it can be performed in different forms. You can use different criteria, different documents, you can use some software, etc. It is important for you to remember that monitoring can be performed in several ways, and it depends from this point how you are going to use it and what is easiest for you and how you are going to present it. At the end, I'm sure that you already know version 4 is published in December, but certification to the new version is possible from January 2017. As of January 2018, certification of version 4 is mandatory. So you can expect, or you already had, the auditors coming to your company, auditing these versions and asking for the management of services, how you do it, looking at your contracts, etc. And with this presentation, we like to just give you some practical documents that you can use and give you some new knowledge that you can use in evaluation of your suppliers of services. At the mere end, I would like you to answer just one more poll, and this is, was all of this information valuable to you and your food safety system? I know it is short, but please. Okay, Simon.
Yep, I've loaded the poll. Yeah, hopefully it was helpful somewhat. Also, you mentioned throughout the presentation certain links, and we've uploaded some documents, the supplier list and also the specification checklist. We'll provide those in the follow-up email, the links and the PowerPoint presentation and the documents. So, yes. Well,
Yeah.
that's not bad, that, Vladimir. That's 99%. So,
Nice.
pretty good.
Nice.
Good return.
Nice. Okay, so just a few slides. So for you, dear colleagues, just to get know your version 4, someone mentioned what about the version 4.1. For version 4.1, it is practically that it is the similar as this one, no big changes. So every information that you get here are the same, So please, all informations are available on the FSSC 22000 official website. Think about implementation of the new version, and please contact us with we can help you in defining our plans for implementation of changes. And also on IFSQN download section, you have complete documents for implementation of the FSSC. And for more valuable webinar, you can click on the link, and here you can learn about practical supplier evaluation and audit with me as a trainer also. So it would be really nice to have some additional informations, you know. For the end, I would just like to mention one sentence, and the future has to do with the character and competency. Who is lacking the one or the other or both will never go beyond the present. So use this presentation, use the downloaded templates, click the links and go beyond the present. And thank you all for listening, and we will continue with the questions and answers section.
Okay.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yes, super that. Thanks very much, Vladimir. Let's stop sharing the slides. Yep, we're back on. Right, let's get straight into the questions.
Yeah.
You see the one from Catherine there. How is it possible to evaluate show conformity of informal suppliers, given that it is difficult to find more formal suppliers for some materials?
Of informal suppliers, given that it's difficult for more formal suppliers for some materials. Yeah, but you know, for example, I showed you that there are some monitoring that you can do, like you can check the each supplier for each delivery, you know, so you will focus on each delivery. For example, if there is some supplier that delivers for you like one time or 20 times, etc., you can track each delivery and said, this supplier delivered to me 20 times in the year, and from 20 times he was good 90 times, you know. And overall, I wanted that they are good more than 15 times when they deliver on time or quality of this material or service, etc., you know.
You've got to do what you can. Okay, Khaled,
Yeah.
how do you assess and approve suppliers of utilities if your only supplier is your local council?
How do I say supply of utilities? Yeah, you know, sometimes it is defined by the regulative that you need to use this local supplier, let's say local supplier. So this is something where you cannot handle it, but you can for sure define the specification for this, you know, and have the clear specification for your supplier. If it is defined by the regulative, for example, like waste management, that you need to use some local supplier, and it is defined maybe that you need to use some public utility, etc. It is like that. Yeah. Okay. You cannot evaluate it on maybe some of your defined criteria. It is how it is.
All right. Deanne, what is the difference between raw material suppliers such as ingredients and packaging and contract service providers, and do you treat them differently?
Practically, yes. Because, you know, if you have a suppliers for ingredients and packaging, this is more valuable for you because they are in direct contact with the safety of your product, quality of your product. So you will be more focused on the suppliers of ingredients and suppliers of packaging. Regarding the suppliers of services, this is something different. You know, you need to focus on them because sometimes they can influence on your food safety, you know, but more attention must be on the suppliers of ingredients and packaging.
Okay, for sure. Cameron Dozier, would it be best to actually visit each supplier yourself and not take a third party's word for it?
Yeah, if you have time and money, you can go visit it by yourself. But sometimes it is better that you engage some third parties that are independent from you, but also your supplier. You know, you cannot say, for example, you engage some auditor from the certification body. You look that this is not the same certification body that certifies your supplier, and you send this auditor to perform the audit. And for me, you will get more valuable informations and more valuable data from this audit. Of course, for me, I trust myself the best, you know, but sometimes, you know, when you perform the audit by yourself, you do the audit, you get the bad results, you send that results to the purchasing department, and then you say, and then they say, you know, but you looked at as production, you didn't focus on this, it is a good price, etc. You know, it is best to have some independence.
Okay.
But you think about it, you know.
A bit of a long question, but I'm sure you'll get it. Attil, for service suppliers, is it a must to make audit of all of them? Do you think it's meaningful to make an audit for a lab, e.g., where they are ISO 17025 and it's hard to know all the requirements? If the lab is accredited, do we have to make an audit? What do you think? In short, do all service suppliers need to be audited?
No, you don't have to audit any of the suppliers of services. You know, you will more focus on audit of suppliers of ingredients or the suppliers of packaging, because you will need to see how they are doing it, you know, on their site, for example, you know. But if you have some suppliers, for example, of that they are doing the packaging for you, or they are doing the partially production for you, you will need to visit. Regarding the accreditation of the laboratory, of course, you can trust it, but what should you have is the specification of these services, and that these suppliers deliver to you all of these, let's say, documents like the certificates, the accreditation, the specific list of employees, etc., that is needed for you. And you can trust that. You can trust that.
Okay, another one. Roselle, how can we manage international suppliers? Is third-party certification such as FSSC or ISO standards?
Can mitigate the requirements. Yes. You can manage international suppliers like that. I have seen that, where the specification, like we said for you in the download section, is sent to the supplier. Supplier need to fill in all the requirements, and he returns to you this specification and confirms that he can comply with your specification and demands, like general and some specific demands, and also send you the certificates, the documents, the manual, or what is else needed. And you, after that, you can say this is approved supplier for me, and with this practically we can continue working with them. But every year we are going to track what they supply to us, or how they are doing that activities, is this on a quality, etc.
Next one, excuse me if I get your name wrong, Muthu Palaniapan. What are the points we can check related to vulnerability when we assess suppliers?
Okay, this is maybe focus more on safety. When you look at it, for example, if you connect this to a food fraud, and if you connect this to a food defense, and at the end as a food safety, you can check at the points regarding the does this supplier of yours had any issues with these questions in previous time? Is it a supplier that is new on the market, or is this a supplier that operates for a long time now? Does any of your cooperation company knows about this supplier? Do they use their services, you know? And there is a lot of question where you can check your supplier and assess your supplier, especially if this is a new supplier and you're not familiar with this. We mentioned the question before about these international, you know, suppliers. Maybe you are not familiar with this international supplier, and you can ask from them that they send you some reference list for the companies that they already worked for, and you can ask these companies to really assess them before you start working. So in your specification, you can say that supplier needs to deliver the list with the companies that they already operate with, right? Reference list.
Yeah. Okay, Maria, is it necessary to evaluate the catering service used? Workers' food. I'm not sure what that
Yeah,
is.
you will have the specification,
yeah.
but I think that workers will be engaged to evaluate the catering service.
Yeah.
You know, this is not directly, this is not a direct connection with your food safety system or the products that you produce. It is not. If you have, of course, a separated area for the feeding of employees and you have this catering service, etc. But the workers will be empowered to perform the evaluation of the catering service used.
Yeah. Lupita, can you define the specification for a service, but how do you assess your national electricity company?
The same question as I said it, you know, you cannot, it is what you get.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Okay, Amit, does FSSC 22000 v version 4 require a risk-based supplier management system or a supplier management system covering all general and specific provisions irrespective of risk?
Yes, you can have a risk-based supplier management system because you already have a hazard analysis, and in this hazard analysis for your HCCP, that is the center of the FSSC, you will have to evaluate your suppliers or maybe each ingredient or packaging material that is coming to you. And with this, you can do the risk-based supplier, you know. This is one part. The second part is that you have a food defense and food fraud, and here you will have also a threat assessment for this and to develop the food fraud and food defense plan. And here you will also evaluate or risk base your suppliers. So practically you will have the three ways how you evaluate your suppliers, and at the end your FSSC 22000 is practically risk-based supplier management system.
Okay. Tariq, yeah, when can you join future webinars? Well, all the webinars, upcoming webinars are listed on the IFSQM website, and this is the 101st Food Safety Friday, so there's a back archive of, well, probably with other webinars, a couple of hundred webinars you can get stuck into. So, but we provide the link to the archive, video archive, in the follow-up email that we'll send out later. Abdi El Rahman, please can you send file for audit checklist supplier? Well, there are some examples that we did refer to, and we'll send those later. Let's see. What about this one, Christina? For co-manufacturer, co-packer, supplier of ingredients is the customer. Do we still need to evaluate?
Yes, I mentioned if you have a service that is outsourced, you know, you produce something and your, let's say, co-manufacturer finishes this product or produces a part of the product for you, he's still a supplier of the product or semi-finished product, for example. So you need to evaluate him. But if we talk about co-packer, if someone is packaging your product, this could be a service for you, and practically you need to evaluate them. Yeah.
But what about the other way around, Vladimir? I think she might be asking, if I was producing for you and you were supplying the ingredients, so you were my customer, but you were I was just manufacturing your ingredients.
No,
then...
yeah, but you produce for me according to my specification. Yeah. You know, so you will have to comply with the specification. That's it.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm a big retailer, and you produce for me a private brand product. You are producing it according to some defined specification, and all products you need to produce it according to this specification. So you are not evaluating me, I'm evaluating you.
Yeah. Okay. Ahmed, what is your opinion in CCP1 and CCP2 definitions? Is there a great difference?
I think this is not the food safety Friday for this topic. Maybe you can go on the link that I provided for the forum, and you will have lots of discussion on the CCP1 and CCP2 definition.
Okay, right. I think
and a little bit confuse them. Yeah.
Yes. Right. I think we've exhausted the questions. So what we'll just do now is we'll say thanks very much to you, Vladimir, for your time. It's been great.
you all.
I'm sure once the audience get the follow-up email with all the links that they can click on, etc., they will find it a very good resource. And to get 99 out of 100, that's pretty good. So thanks very much, Vladimir, and hope to see you again soon. I've loaded the certificate in the sidebar for everybody, so you can click on the link there, go to Dropbox, download the certificate. And yeah, shall we say bye-bye to everybody, Vladimir?
Yeah.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
We hope to see you soon. Visit the IFSQN website, look at the previous webinars, look at the training courses, and there are some there. There is a 4-hour training course for practical supplier auditor that really expands on this subject, and that's very good. Okay, right.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.